Buenas tardes a todos. Me pidieron que hiciera una breve introducción de la persona que estamos a punto de recibir. Para todos los que están pensando en salir del Congreso, les pido que piensen dos veces. La primera vez que escuché Jason Forrest lo hice en Estados Unidos, en la conferencia más importante de desarrollo inmobiliario del país vecino, y me quedó claro lo que se dice de él allá en Estados Unidos. Es el mejor speaker que tiene ahorita Estados Unidos en términos de cambio cultural, en términos de el cambio en creencias hacia la gente. El trabajo que él hace no lo hemos visto en Latinoamérica, o por lo menos yo no había conocido a alguien que lo haga. Es coach personal para los líderes más importantes de la industria de bienes raíces allá, además de que su empresa tiene la capacidad para cambiar o trabaja con el cambio cultural de organizaciones tan importantes como los Navy SEALs, varios equipos de fútbol americano y, por supuesto, tiene la participación de mercado más importante en el entrenamiento cultural, en el cambio cultural en organizaciones del real estate. Entonces, la verdad es que Jason para mí es mucho más que un amigo, es un mentor, y junto con 4S hemos colaborado en múltiples proyectos. Les quiero pedir, por favor, tomemos asiento y le demos un gran aplauso para recibir a este impresionante speaker, Jason Forrest.
All right, thanks guys. Again, my name is Jason Forrest. I've got 30 minutes to share some things with you. I'm going to do whatever I can to teach you three things in 30 minutes. So the first thing, and that is that culture eats strategy for lunch. So culture eats strategy for lunch. Right now, you guys are learning all kinds of cool strategic things you need to do in order to give yourself more profitability, give yourself a pay raise, change people's lives. But you got to get your culture right. So we're going to talk about how to get your culture right. The second thing is that our beliefs have more to do with our success than our abilities. You know, if you think about it, you take two single human beings and you teach them the exact same skills, the exact same behaviors, but one human being will always outperform the other human being, not because of the skills they're learning, but because of how they think. So we've got to get our thinking right. And then the third thing is you've got to make yourself your best client. You got to make yourself your best client. What do I mean by that? So often we train and we bring in coaches and advisor consultants to work with our frontline employees, but we don't work on ourselves first. And so we got to work on ourselves first so we have something to actually give. And that's something that I focus on is I want my company to be my best client, but the only way I can do that is if I make myself my best client. If I make myself my best client, then I can pour into my own company, and then I can have them pour into to the actual clients that we serve every single day. So you guys ready to learn some stuff? Yes? Okay, I got to bring a lot more energy here. We got to wake you guys up. So normally I speak for 18 hours straight with no breaks, and it's like a total rock concert. I'd love for you guys to join us in the United States. We got a 2-day seminar in LA in April. We have another one in Dallas in August on sales and leadership and coaching. And I promise you it'll rock your socks off. But you got to check it out. So let me start with this concept. So who is this? Yell it out. Who is this? Lindsay Lohan. That's right. So what does Lindsay Lohan have to do with culture? What does Lindsay Lohan have to do with high performance? Well, so here's the thing about Lindsay Lohan you got to know, and that is that Lindsay Lohan has spent over $1 million on rehab clinics over her lifetime. She goes in and out of drug rehab programs, and she goes into this rehab program that completely weans her off drugs, but within days, she gets back on drugs and then has to go back to the same rehab program. Why is that? Because once she gets off the drugs and she changes her habits and sometimes changes her beliefs, she immediately goes back into the same neighborhood as she was back on drugs. She goes and hangs out with the same people. She wears the same outfits. What does that mean? What it means is that how often do you guys have these interventions? See, one of the things that we're known for at Forrest Performance Group is unleashing human performance. And so companies will bring us in all the time to do what we call sales interventions. Sales interventions. And so what that means is, how often do you have salespeople on your team that says, I could only sell more if you match my competitor's price? Make the noise if you've ever heard that before, yes? All right. Is that selling? That is not selling. So So I want you to know, the only way you sell something is if you sell the same product as someone else and you charge more for it. That is what selling is. If you do not charge more for the same product, you're not selling anything. So often our companies will bring us in and say, I need you to do an intervention with my sales team, and we'll come in and we'll do this intervention, like a drug intervention, and then 13 weeks later, a year later, we'll throw the salespeople back in the culture, and then the culture will take care of them. And how fast are they back on drugs? How fast? Like that. And that's because the neighborhood wasn't right. The culture wasn't right. The leadership didn't buy in. They didn't have the right support systems, the right structure. They didn't get their mindset right first. And so the only reason we got them off drugs, off the sales intervention drug, and off the price drug is because we were there watching them. So you've got to get your culture right. You got to get your neighborhood right. So what is this? Yell it out. What is this? This is a huge 2-ton elephant, and we got a rider on top. The rider's maybe, 120 pounds. So how much control does this rider have over the elephant? How much control? As much as the elephant wants to give it, is that right? So the rider will decide where it wants to go, and then all of a sudden the elephant will go, squirrel, and it'll start chasing a squirrel. Well, what does that mean? Right now, I want you to write your name. So if you were to literally take a piece of paper out and say, I am the rider. I am the 120-pound rider, and my culture is this elephant. This elephant has more control over your profitability and your performance on driving your performance than anyone else. You are not in control. That elephant is in control. So if we don't get the elephant to get on board with what we're trying to do, it doesn't matter. See, the one thing you have to know is that your average employee is only being supervised about 5% of their daily work. 5%. So the question I ask of you is, what are they doing when you're not around? See, if we all know that when you're supervising them, when you're right next to them, you're in control of them. You're telling the elephant where to go. You're telling where your people to go. And that's how they operate. They operate as good as when you were around. The question is, when you're not around, what are they doing? So if we don't get the culture right, if we don't get the elephant on board with us, we don't get them to see things the way we see things, then again, they're in charge. And that's killing and destroying your profit margins. I can show you all kinds of research that the single greatest way to increase your profit margins is actually get your culture right, get your culture on board. Because how often do we have to hire 2 or 3 people to do the work of one person? How often? A lot. So think about that. If you could find a way to find one person to perform at the same level as 3, think about the amount of money and how much that would save your organization to increase your profit margins. Well, I can show you how to do that by getting your culture right. Third thing, what is this? Yell it out. This is right. Now, in Texas, we call it a roadie. I don't know what you call it in Mexico. Maybe an adult soda, an adult Coke. So basically, in Texas, it's illegal to drink and drive. Is it illegal to drink and drive in Mexico? Yes or no? Is it illegal to have an open container in Mexico? Yes or no? It depends. I like that. I like them. Tell me where to go next time. I like that. So in Texas and the United States, it's illegal to have an open container when you drive. But in every convenience store you go to in Texas, right next to the checkout is beers ready to drink. They're iced. They've been freshly iced. All you have to do is crack them open. They're in a nice bag. You're clearly going to drink it on the way home because it's just buying one, and it would get hot by the time you got home. You have to drink it. You guys agree you have to drink it? Yes. So why is it that if it's illegal to drink and drive, it's illegal to drive with an open container, why are people still doing it? Why? Yell it out. Why? Because the culture eats strategy for lunch. See, how often does the government try to intervene and say, I'm going to create a system of rules and regulations to tell you what to do when you are not around? And the government actually believes that's going to work. They actually believe it's going to work. It doesn't work. And I can give you numerous examples of how we try to create rules and regulations to control people to perform at a certain level, but it doesn't work. Because the culture will do what it wants to do when you're not around. The people will do what it wants to do when you're not around. Why do I share this slide with you? Because I want you to know that right now, if you were running your culture based on rules and regulations, if you're running your culture based on carrot and stick, I want my people to perform higher, so what do? I give them more money. I give them more rewards. I give them more incentives. I give them more prizes. I give them more contests. And if they're not performing, what do? I write them up. I punish them. I put them on some sort of list. This is carrot and stick motivation. It does not work for human beings. It works for dogs. It doesn't work for human beings. It works for cats. It doesn't work for human beings. And so if you have human beings running your company and not dogs and cats, you can't run your company based on rules and regulations. You guys following me? So right now, I want you to ask yourself a critical thinking question, that is this: are you running your company like the government? Who wants to do that? Make the sound of running your company like the government. Boo! Who wants to do that? No one wants to do that. No one wants to be regulated. Everyone wants to be unleashed. So at Forrest Performance Group, we have a tagline. It's called Human Performance Unleashed. Human Performance Unleashed. See, one of the things that I believe is that on day one of our life, we are born perfect. I believe that. I believe on day one of our life, we are born truly great. But then what happens? What happens is our culture, our teachers, our parents, our friends, our coworkers, our regulations, they literally suppress us and they hold us back. And so one of the things that I actually do for organizations and I do for leadership is I go to them and I literally unleash them. I get them to go back to day one of their life, not day 35 of their life, 35 years of their life, day one, and say, this is when you had no rules. So one of the things I do in my company is every one of my employees has a picture of themselves when they're a child. And every single time they try to give me an alibi or an excuse of why they can't do something, I literally say, tell me right now if that person would give me that excuse. If the 8-year-old child of you would give me an excuse. If the 4-year-old child would give me an excuse. See, when you're 4, when you're 8, you're completely unleashed. You have 0 rules. One of the things I want you to know, and this is an important thing, and that is the quality of your life is equal to the amount of rules that you have in any given moment. Let me repeat that. The quality of your life is equal to how many rules you have at any given moment. So raise your hand if you've ever seen the person that you know someone, right? A friend, a family member who's dated 1,000 girls, 1,000 guys, but can't find the one. Make the noise. Yes? So what's funny about this is think about how many rules this person has. And so I'll do counseling with people like this for fun, and I'll show this metaphor, and I'll ask them, I'll say, so why did the last person not make it? Well, he was too fat. Okay, well, how about the one before that? Well, he was too athletic. Okay, how about one before that? Well, he was too into family. How about one before that? Not into family enough. How about one before that? He just was too into work. How about one before that? He wasn't into work enough. He was too lazy. One after another, they will literally create all these rules, and they're looking for what I call the unicorn spouse. What's the unicorn? It's the magical creature that doesn't exist. But see, I share this with you because right now, to unleash yourself and unleash your performance of yourself and your team, you have to remove the rules. You have to remove the rules. I mean, right now, what's the big crisis in Mexico? That oil's gone down, right? I mean, right now, what is one of the rules that we say? If only oil prices hadn't gone down so much, we would have sold more. We could have performed more. I had a client recently in Calgary that called me up and they said, well, we're not sure if we're going to go forward with you and helping us because the Calgary oil crisis just happened and we're immediately slashing our projections on what we're going to do the next 12 months because oil's gone down. Now this was like on day one of the oil crisis. This is day one. And I said, you're already saying that you're going to sell half as much because oil's already gone down? You don't even have a shot now. You've already created this rule for yourself that says I can perform well as long as this perfect unicorn circumstance exists. And so one of the things I want to share with you is this, and that is there any company right now that is doing everything they can and maximizing everything they can within the regulation, within the circumstance? I haven't found one that is. So there's always room to grow. There's always room to perform at a higher level. So again, if you get anything out of today, you got to get this. You've got to get your culture right. Because all of you right now are learning all kinds of great strategies on how to perform more. But if you don't get your culture right, they will not perform for you. Culture is the key to the whole thing. It is the secret sauce. Our company is called FPG, Forrest Performance Group. And one of the things that I say is I want my employees to be FPG born, FPG bred, and when they die, it'll be FPG dead. I want them loyal. I had a new millennial, the word millennial, right? Millennials. I had a millennial that came to me recently and she came in as an intern and she said, I will do whatever it takes to be with you. Whatever it takes to stay here. We're paying her $10 an hour. And she said, this is the job that I've dreamed about. And she goes, whatever you tell me to do, I will do it. And I said, you don't even know what I'm asking you to do. She goes, I don't care. She goes, I've met your team, I've met your culture, I've met all about this, and I have to be a part of the culture. Just tell me what to do and I will do it. If you want to attract the largest generation since the baby boomers, you've got to give them a culture where they want to be at versus they have to be at. You have to give them a culture where it's all about love versus fear. There's only two primal emotions of the human race. One is fear and one is love. That's it. If you have a culture of love, then it strengthens them and empowers them. It makes them motivated. They can't wait to talk about it. All she ever talks about is how great of a place it is to work with us. But think about how different that is. Right now, what are your employees saying behind your back about your culture, about your leadership style, about your managers that are running them? Are they saying that I would leave this place in a second, but I can't find any other place to work? Are they only loyal to your paycheck? Are they loyal to your vision? Are they loyal to you? Are they loyal to their teammates? See, if they're only loyal to their paycheck, then as soon as they get a chance to get more money, they will leave. And they are clock watchers. Their ultimate goal is how do I get in and get out as quick as I possibly can? Are you guys following me so far? Is this helpful? All right. So you got to get your culture right. Number 2. I got 21 minutes and 3 seconds. Let's go. So number 2, our beliefs have more to do with our success than our abilities. Our beliefs have more to do with our success than our abilities. Our beliefs have more to do with our success than our abilities. So my company, partnered with the Pacific Institute, trains the University of Alabama, the most successful college football team in America. We train the Seattle Seahawks, the most successful current NFL team. And we just started working with the U.S. Navy SEALs. I share this with you because they know that it's all about beliefs. It's not about abilities. It's all about beliefs. And I'll give you my email address at the end. And I can send you these slides. I know some of you are taking pictures of it, which is great. But I'll share with you this concept right here is what I call my opus. I've been spending 15 years developing this one single slide that I believe honestly is the thing that if you run your parenting by, if you run your company by, if you run your life by, and you constantly obsess over this one single slide, it will give you so many pay raises, so much more profitability, it'll make you so much happier in your life. Look, I know we've been told before that money's not the most important thing, but it is next to oxygen. Is that correct? It is next to oxygen. Who wants to make more money? Yes? I want to make more money. I would love more money. Okay, so here's a simple slide. The very bottom, the very bottom, you have play to not lose. So these are employees that have a mindset of all they care about is not getting fired. Every single day they come to work and say, what do I do to not get fired? That's all they care about. How much productivity are you getting out of them? Not very much. So we got to quickly find those people. We got to figure out what do you do about them. Next level up is they got to play to cruise. Now play to cruise is they find this kind of acceptable sweet spot where they know they won't be recognized. So they're not going to be on the naughty list, but they're not going to be on the nice list either. They found this kind of sweet spot. So for example, in the United States, we train the most home builders in the United States. So I'm on 2 publicly traded blacklists for home builders because I know their insider trading numbers before Wall Street knows. But I'll tell you, one of the things they measure in the United States is they need 2 sales a month. That's like the magic number per community. That's the magic number. That's their sweet spot. And it's amazing how many times where I'll go into a company and I'll say, I'll literally get everyone to get a pen and paper out, and I'll say anonymously, I want you to write, how many sales do you need to not get fired? Like, what's the safe zone? Don't tell anyone, write on a piece of paper. It's amazing how many companies I go, it doesn't matter if I'm in home building, it doesn't matter if I'm, one of our clients is the #1 Rolls-Royce dealership in the world, furniture stores, it doesn't matter. Every single salesperson will know what is their sweet spot. What is that place where they're left alone? Now, how do they know that? Because you tell them. And so one of the things I tell them is I say, what if you started raising the sweet spot? What if you started raising the play to cruise number? You would immediately give yourself a pay raise. But right now, that number is just there, and so that's what everyone gravitates to. It creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so think about how many people right now in your organization are literally just playing to cruise. Not just in sales, but in the operations side, on the construction side, they're just playing to cruise. So we got to get away from that. So next level is play to compete. Now, this is one of the hardest levels to raise their consciousness. So play to compete is they found a way to cheat. They've literally found a way to cheat. They found a way to legally cheat. They spend more time convincing you that your prices are too high than they do convincing the customer that the price is just right. They have found a way they make everyone else feel smaller so they feel bigger. So think about people you have in your organization that all they ever do is try to make everyone else look bad by talking behind people's back, not just in sales, but in operations in every part of your culture. They spend all the time blaming others. These are your blamers, but they're really good at it. And so you've actually been sold by their blaming. You've been sold by their blaming. And so you start to listen to their blame to go, maybe they're right. Well, if you listen to their blaming, then you start creating a culture of play to compete. Now, why does this matter? Because these three levels of play not to lose, play to cruise, and play to compete, all of these have a fixed mindset and they believe they're not enough. They believe they're not enough. And play two is a very important word. It's extrinsically motivated. So this is where the only way to motivate these people is with carrot and stick motivation. That's the only way. You have to either reward them more or you have to punish them to perform higher. But the problem with this is that whenever you are doing this style of management, it costs you tons of money and it's a lot of headache. These are also the people that you manage. See, people above the line, you start to coach. And so what I call it is a shift in consciousness. A shift in consciousness. And so all of a sudden they shift above and they get to this level of play for improvement. So I'm going to give you an example of that. So when I first started, I was head of sales for a company, and then I got promoted to be a trainer. And when I was a manager, I didn't really know what I was doing. I would go out there and I would say, how can I help you? And the salespeople would say, here's what you can do. You can get my prices lower, get me better brochures, better marketing. And I'd go to corporate and I'd say, here's how we sell more. We need to lower our prices, get better product, et cetera. And so then all of a sudden I got into training. Well, in training, I'm teaching people. And so I would go out there and this one salesperson, Christine, she calls me up one day and she says, can you come shadow me? Can you come give me some pointers on how to sell more? And I said, sure. So I went out there and I gave her some pointers, and immediately, 30 days later, she called me up and she said, Jason, when can you come back out again? And I said, what do you mean? She goes, I did what you told me to do, and I've now made an extra $3,000 this month on your advice, and I want more money. And I said, well, why don't you call your manager? And she said, well, my manager doesn't do that. And I said, what does your manager do? Well, my manager gets my brochures, she gets my packaging, she gets my product, she makes sure that I got the right signage, the right collateral, she makes sure my prices are in line, she gets corporate off my ass. That's what she does. And I was like, oh, I get it. That's what I used to do. And I realized that we make our no one wants to be managed. You've got to get that. No one wants to be managed. But everyone wants to be coached. Everyone wants to be coached. So I actually studied, I went and researched, and I tried to find, okay, what's the best books on coaching out there, coaching high-performance employees, and there wasn't any out there. All of them were management books on how to manage by reports, which is not how you manage. It's not how you get performance out of people. It's how you manage, not how you get performance. And so what I did is I studied the world's best performance coaches out there. The Nick Sabans, the Pete Carrolls, the Bill Walshes, the best football coaches out there, the best soccer coaches out there in the world, the best rugby coaches. And I had this theory, and that was, what if we start treating our employees like athletes? What if we start believing that our employees are really corporate athletes, and we start coaching them and unleashing them just the way that Nick Saban would run his football team, or just the way that Augie Garrido would run his baseball team? How do we do that? And that was the game changer. So right now, we need to ask yourself the question that is, who is your absolute favorite sports coach of all times? And constantly obsessed over this one single question, that is, if this favorite coach was running my company right now, how would he or she run it differently? That one single question will change your life. It'll change your profitability. Because every day we should be striving on, this person will be running my company completely different than I run it. They do not run it based on reports, they run it based on improvement. It's very different, very different. So you can see above the line is this idea of play for improvement, and then all of a sudden they go to this play for challenge. And play for the challenge is, let's say there's a problem. And let's say, again, all of a sudden, we had the oil crisis and everyone's freaking out. Well, if you've got one employee in your company that says, why are we spending so much time focusing on what we can't do? Why don't instead we figure out how to be the best at what we can do? If anyone talks like that in your organization, they're playing for the challenge. If you have people that say, you're right, we're screwed right now because the competition is lowering their price by $20,000 and the only way to keep up is to match their price, they're planning to compete. You see the difference? It's a different game. And you can see if you have more people in your organization that are above the line and wanting to improve and wanting to play for the challenge, it totally changes your profitability because they think differently. It's a thinking issue more than anything else. And then last is this idea of playing for mastery. Playing for mastery is this place of kind of Zen-like spirit. It's where every day they realize that I don't really know what I'm doing anymore. In every major spiritual teaching, they all say the same thing, and that is, come with an empty rice bowl. Come with a childlike mind. One of the things that I say to myself is an affirmation on a daily basis, and that is the more I learn about selling, the more I realize how very little I know about it. The more I learn about parenting, the more I realize how very little I know about it. The more I learn about sex, the more I realize how very little I know about it. Is that correct, guys? You better say yes. The more I learn about anything, right? The more I learn about running my business. Now, why do I say that? Because as soon as you start saying, I know everything, you have no more room to grow. And so the people that are below the line, they literally say, I've got this thing figured out. But as you go up the chain, you go up to improvement, challenge, and mastery, you start to shift your thinking back to day one of your life. Maybe on day one of your life, you didn't know anything. And you came every day and say, parents, teach me. Give me something new to learn. I want to figure this thing out. And when you become that play for mastery, that's what you're focused on, is how do I become better every single day? Okay. So again, first thing, you got to get your culture right. We talked about that. You got to get your culture right. Culture eats strategy for lunch. The second thing is our beliefs have more to do with our success than our abilities. Now, if I was doing a workshop with you, then what I would have you do, and I would do this right now if I were you, is right now ask yourself the question, what percentage of my employees are operating above the line in their thinking versus below the line? So what percentage of my employees are operating above the line versus below the line? And then you want to put an equals my current profit margins, equal my current sales, equal my current revenue. Most of the time when I start organizations, it's about 20 to 30% above the line, and it's about 70% below the line. So if that's where you're at, you're not alone. Only 15% of cultures in the world operate majority of the time above the line. Only 15%. The Apples of the world, the Googles of the world, they operate above the line majority of the time, and they destroy everyone else. Because they're constantly thinking about innovation, they're constantly thinking about consciousness, they're constantly about growing their people's mindset. And mindset is everything. It is everything. And so start being obsessed over what is my belief saying about this? So the third thing, and that is the coaching along the way makes all the difference. The coaching along the way makes all the difference. I am where I am today because of people that saw more in me than I saw in myself. You are where you are today because you had people in your life that saw more in you than you saw in yourself. We are where we are today because we had those people. The question is, what about your employees? What kind of coaching do they have? How much are we pouring into them and constantly saying, you can be better than this? You can be better. My head of sales, Mary, when I first interviewed her, I said, how much do you want to make and how much do you need to make? And she said, I need to make $50,000. I'm sorry, I need to make $30,000. I want to make $50,000. And I said, that's not enough. I said, I need you to make $75,000 in year one because that's how much sales I need right now you to produce. So I want to pay you $75,000. How am I going to do that? Let's make that happen. And it was amazing because she told me later on that I was the first person that told her in her entire life that I believe you are worth, in year one, $75,000. I believe you're worth it. See, people will operate to what they believe they are worth, and they will do whatever they can to make that number true. But it requires us as coaches to see more and then they see in themselves. Why do I say that? Well, because remember I started off and I said there's 3 things I'm going to share with you guys. Number 1, your culture eats strategy for lunch. Number 2, our beliefs have more to do with our success than our abilities. Number 3, you got to coach yourself first. So why am I talking about coaching other people? Because if you do not coach yourself first, if you don't invest in things, if you don't ask yourself, where am I on this pyramid? What do I fall victim to? What are the excuses and the alibis that I give? What does my team hear me say on a daily basis? If you don't coach yourself first, you have nothing to give to them. You can only give what you have inside of you. And so we coach hundreds of companies around the world, and I have 5 coaches a month that I personally invest in. 5 coaches a month that are all telling me things to say, push it, push it, push it. So if you get anything out of today, you've got to start investing in a coach for yourself. So coach yourself first so that you can start coaching other people. And again, if you want more information on that, then you can definitely contact us, email us, we can tell you all about what we do, or you can find some other coach. But we've got people in this country, we've got partners in this country that are actually on the ground and ready to go and ready to serve you. Okay. So, about to run out of time, but I'm going to give you one last story to wrap this thing up. So you guys learned something? Did you wake up a little bit? Hopefully? Okay. So check this out. So I'm one of those guys that's impossible to buy stuff for. My wife, I've been married for 13 years, an amazing woman, but I'm impossible to buy stuff for. Why? Because I just buy whatever I see. So if I like something, I'm going to go buy it. Well, it makes it difficult for Christmas and my birthday to buy me things. And so all of a sudden, we came up with this really cool idea. And the idea was, why don't I make a list of gifts that I want to buy myself, but I would probably never buy. Like gifts I want to have, but I would never buy, unless someone bought it for me. And so throughout the last several Christmases and last several holidays and birthdays, I've gotten the craziest stuff. I've gotten an authentic movie quality Chewbacca mask. How cool is that? Right? How cool is that? So I got a crossbow. I shot that crossbow 3 times on the day of Christmas. Never shot it since then. But I got a crossbow. I've got this home defense shotgun called the shotgun blaster that literally has got a pistol grip shotgun on it that's got daggers on the end and stun lights. Just in case an intruder runs at you, you can gut them and stun them. It's all kinds of, I haven't even opened this thing, but it's cool. It's cool, I want that. So I've gotten that. I have an authentic samurai sword that I just love carrying around in my office now. So it's in down Fort Worth, Texas. I have an office in the Fort Worth Club. But one of the coolest gifts she got me was a few years ago. She got me 8 laps around the Texas Motor Speedway. So who's ever driven a NASCAR before? Anyone done this? Yes or no? A few people? So I'm super excited about this. It was on my bucket list. And I have an Audi TT. I like to go fast. And so I was super pumped. The night before that I did this 8 laps around the NASCAR, around the Texas Motor Speedway, I watched Days of Thunder. You've seen Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise. Watched Days of Thunder. I was getting all pumped up and ready to go. And so I show up. My family's there. And I'm in this hour-long training class on how to drive right. There's other people driving along with you and stuff, and you're driving as fast as you possibly can on the speedway. Super adrenaline rush, super crazy. And so the guy who's driving with me, who's my instructor, is from Talladega, from Alabama. And so he tells me, he says, boy, you want to go fast? And I said, yeah. He says, I'm going to take you out of your comfort zone, but you're not going to be able to hear anything. And so when we're driving in this car, it's going to go real fast. It's going to shake. You're not going to be able to see anything. You're not going to see how fast you're going. And so if I go like this, if I speed up, I want you to speed up. If I tell you to slow down, I want you to slow down. If I tell you to go like this, you're going to pit. If I tell you like this, you can go right. And I said, I got it, let's go. And so we're going around the track. We are flying around this track, and the whole thing, adrenaline rush. I'm shaking. And all of a sudden, he says, go like this, which means to pit. And I'm thinking, on lap 2, why am I pitting? What's wrong with the car? And he turns the ignition off, and he says, boy, you want to go fast? I said, yes. And I said, what's wrong? He said, boy, can I take you out of your comfort zone? I said, yes. What is the problem? He says, you're only going about 72 miles an hour around this track. I was like, oh my gosh. That's not very fast. And he says, so here's the deal. He said, I need to get your permission to take you out of your comfort zones. He's trying to be a great coach. So what great coaches do is they ask for permission to push you. He said, so if I tell you speed up, I want you to speed up. I said, got this. He said, in any given moment, if I feel like you're not going fast enough, I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to put it on your knee and I'm going to push your leg down. Can I get permission to have a 240-pound man from Alabama put my hand on your knee? And I was like, do I need to sign a waiver or something? This feels a little creepy. And so all of a sudden, we're going around lap 3, lap 4, lap 5, and he's going, speed up, speed up, speed up. And all of a sudden, I feel the hand of a 240-pound redneck from Alabama pushing my leg down. All right, right now, I want everyone to hold up their right arm. Hold up your right arm. Hold it up. On the count of 3, I want you to put your hand on the person's knee to your right. 1, 2, 3. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's improper. It's improper. Look, guys, sometimes in life, We need people that see more in us than see in ourselves. We need coaches in our life to push us. We need people to take us out of our comfort zone. We need people to take us to places we wouldn't go on our own. And that's what you can do if you get your culture right, if you get your beliefs right and your company's beliefs right, and you start coaching yourself first so that you can coach other people. And so I want you guys to know I'm super grateful. I'm getting ready to go on a plane back to Fort Worth. I have another speaking engagement back there tomorrow. But I want you to know I am super grateful, and I thank you for allowing me to put my hand on your knee. Thank you very much.